And now on WRS, Michael McKay with the McKay Interview.
Hello everyone. Long before the modern cult of personality, celebrity and brands, there were great families, even dynasties. They lived and had influence all across what one American once called Old Europe. They lived on and across the continents of Africa and Asia, and even the new worlds of the Americas and Australasia. There were and still are families that have done well out of good fortune and families that have made fortunes out of doing well. Standing head and shoulders above the rest is the great family name of Rothschild, synonymous with banking, finance, taking and managing risk, great vineyards and superlative wines. Linked through history to Waterloo, Suez, Brazil, Cecil Rhodes, Japan, I could go on, and I'm sure that I would still not have covered everything. But there's no need for me to go on at length, because I'd be very surprised if there's anyone out there listening who's never heard the name Rothschild. And today I'm with that particular part of the family which is involved with banking and private banking. And it is fitting that we should be in the Quartier des Banques, the banking district in Geneva, and I'm the guest today of the Baroness Ariane de Rothschild, and I'm seated in her splendid office full of art, paintings, sculpture, and fine objects. Baroness, good afternoon, and thank you for inviting me here, and through me, our World Radio Switzerland listeners in the Geneva region, across Switzerland, and beyond.
Yes, thank you very much.
It's good to be here.
Thank you.
I honestly don't know where to start, Baroness. There's so many things that I could ask you, that I'd love to ask you, that we could talk about. But let's start with the family. If you had to describe the family Rothschild in a few sentences, for example, someone from another galaxy bumped into you at a cocktail party and had never heard the name, how would you describe who the Rothschilds are in these modern times and in modern words?
I think overall Rothschilds throughout the world and through history have been known for their banking activities, so we still are bankers.
Yeah.
Philanthropic activities,
That's important. Philanthropic.
Very much. Art collectors. I think all of the family members to a certain extent or a larger extent are very big art collectors. Mm-hmm. And overall I would say we are really an entrepreneurial family.
And when you say entrepreneurial, give me some examples of, in the modern sense, as opposed to the historical sense in the 18th century, that Rothschild is entrepreneurial.
The modern sense, for example, is always looking for what is happening today and tomorrow. If there's a good example is, for example, my father-in-law in the early 70s was already looking at biotechnology. And so we are known to have one of the oldest biotech funds and continue to do so. And part of what I'm doing today, one of the many activities, is looking now at personalized medicines or DNA, proteins, etc.
I see.
So that's what
at the cutting edge of what's happening.
Exactly.
I see.
So it's really trying to one, see what's out there, 2, accompany these new entrepreneurs, 3, see what we think will be the technologies of tomorrow. And what is also very important for me is to see that if we accompany these companies well, and they develop to what I think they will develop, we will also have a very big social and governmental impact.
I see. And that's obviously important to the philosophy of the family.
Absolutely.
Let me just dip a little bit into history. I know from what I've read that the Rothschilds since the 1760s and the foundation of the family business by Amschel, Mayer Rothschild, have been resilient, prudent, shrewd, discerning, and there are many other descriptive words which would capture the family's qualities. And I've also read that Amschel Mayer sent his 5 sons to the corners of Europe, Frankfurt, Vienna, London, Naples, Paris, to establish the business. Now, how much do you rely on the past to guide you for the future?
Actually, I rely on it a lot. I would say, contrary to most who make of Rothschild a myth, I think it's a way of being on a daily basis. And I think the family say, which is 3 words, which is concordia, living with each other, living in its time, is still valid today. Harmony is still valid. Industria, of course, work and innovation and moving forward is still the case. And of course, the last, integritas, which is ethics, is even more valid. I mean, it's just as valid today as it used to be.
And particularly with your area of interest in biotech.
But overall, I think these three words that were the family say in the 19th still are valid today. And I try to stick to them. I really do. And it's also very much what I'm trying to put back into working in the group, in the bank.
So in that respect, you obviously have a very hands-on role within the organization, because to influence people's attitudes and behavior means you have to be close to the operational management. You can't do that from a distance.
No.
Is that what happens?
Yes, I'm very, I'm here every day. So
every day? Wow.
Yes.
Okay. When you're not
I'm a banker, so I'm not a distant banker. I'm a banker because I think it's a very good, interesting balance between a shareholder shareholder on one side, CEO on another side, so operations on one side and shareholders on the other. I think because it's a family business, it's pretty obvious that we are very hands-on. And I think what's the challenge for a shareholder is to know when to let loose a bit and when to be more hands-on. So there is a flux between coming and going. That's quite interesting. And I always view it as a compliment or challenge, and vice versa, by the way, between the family and the CEO and executive committee.
I see. Okay. I wanted to ask you a little bit about you personally. I know from what I've read and from what I've heard just in Geneva, you had a dramatic effect upon the institution that you're now part of. You married into the family, and now you're very engaged in the business, as you've just said. But which particular part of your work are you most passionate, to use a very fashionable adjective? Not one that I use that often. But do you manage a detachment and a certain distance from your professional activities, or do they absorb you completely?
No, I'm not a detached person. So to begin with, I'm passionate, which I would say some people think it's too much, but I'm very passionate. Yes, that's the way I am. So being detached, I think I could not be detached, whether business, whether philanthropy, whether wine, etc. So the same thing. I always say that's what makes the true richness of this family. It's diversity. So I don't have a hierarchy between banking or winemaking or hotel, because I think they're all part of a global activity. So what might surprise a lot of people, it's I manage them at equal level.
So to use a sort of jargon word, this is not a business run in silos where no one talks across.
No, I try to really make a Rothschild universe complete. So it's not, and I will not favor one to the other. Of course, of course I'm much more, I spend 75% of my time on banking. But when you were saying detachment, no, it's impossible.
I got that sense.
No
when
detachment.
That's for the first time. Another question really about history, one that fascinates me, particularly with a name that's been around and is so revered for so long. How would you characterize responsibility, duty, and obligation in relation to the family? These great words that carry so much meaning. Obligation,
I think they're...
duty.
I always say when you marry into this family, it's very... it was obvious to me from the start that if I was to marry in this family, I was bound to respect duty, obligation, responsibility, which are three very different things, but that's one thing. And the other thing, I grew up in very poor countries, and
where did you grow up? Because
I grew up between Colombia at a time where the violence was very, very strong, very high level of violence, and DRC, Congo.
DRC, I see. Okay.
And I always say I feel extremely privileged.
Yes.
So obligation is the least I can give back.
Right, I understand. And you have family and children, and I have children of my own and a grandson. I just wonder how you personally inculcate a sense of value and values in the younger generation of your great family, and a family that's both wealthy and influential. How do you guide your young charges?
With regard to that, I'm very, I would say, quite Anglo-Saxon, quite American. I think you lead by example. Yeah. So it's very difficult. I've never really, even myself, talking doesn't mean much to me. It's really doing. And I think children are smart enough to make the difference. Yes. So just telling them would be of no use. Right. So I have to show it to them every day. Yeah. And it's true, I demand of them to give back. Yeah. One, also because they travel a lot with me. Because
How old are the children?
They're between 11 and 18.
Okay, so they're quite...
But even so, sometimes I go on business trips and I ask the school to let one of them come with me, because I want them to experience what I do, and they keep up the pace with me. So they go in business meetings, because I think it's important that they get a sense of what it takes.
Absolutely.
Which doesn't mean necessarily that's what they will choose to do.
Sure.
But and my 18-year-old, when she turned 18 not long ago, her first assignment is she joined one of the board of one of our foundations that takes care of children placed by judges for violence, so homes for children. And so she really, I think it's very important. She will sit on the board, she will be part of looking at how it's being run.
Exactly. To the debate. Yeah, absolutely.
So
you've helped me move into another important area I noticed for you, again, from what I've read and just reading between the lines of what you said. Tell me about how you put money to the good of society without the risk of it being squandered by those who might not have your sense of care and guardianship. How do you guard against that?
Okay, in terms of philanthropy, what really used to be at our family level, what I would say really classical philanthropy, it was more grant making. We really moved these past 6-7 years into a much more, I would say, modern philanthropy. You can call it venture philanthropy. It's really being much more demanding on the projects we will finance. One, to really be very close to those projects and ask for a lot of feedback. And three, after a period of 3 to 5 years, depending, we will really reassess whys and hows, etc. So I would say we have really moved a lot of business tools into philanthropy, measurement, impact, different according to what we're trying to achieve, social impact a lot. So I think, for me it was very important to get, and I'm not a lot, and philanthropy is really moving towards trying to measure and achieve impact.
It's very important.
For every dollar given, it's because philanthropy is, of course, helping and giving, but it's also trying to improve, truly improve.
Yes, and you have to measure it, or else how on earth do you go forward?
Right.
One closing question. I've only met you once before, but you seem like a woman with a tremendous energy and force of character. Please tell me, if you may, what makes you impatient? What are you impatient about? And what do you wish you could make go faster for the good of the business, for the good of the family, and for the general good? What makes you impatient?
What makes me impatient? Okay, what really makes me impatient, it's preconceived ideas. That drives me really nuts. Prejudice, I profoundly dislike. Prejudice and injustice, because one leads to the other. So, they're both, for me, at almost I would say at the top of the level. So that makes me impatient. What also makes me impatient is To be honest, I feel too few people are truly driven in Western countries. Again,
they're complacent, you mean? When you say that, they're
yes,
rather complacent.
I always say, I grew up in very poor countries, and I keep going in these countries, and there's a lack. People here in Europe tend to lack being aware of. At the end of the day, we are relatively privileged to others, and so that's why I'm an impatient person.
Okay,
and it's true. It's a matter also of speed because I feel strongly about also social inequality. So when I say driven, that's why I'm so highly driven, because I think obviously, the faster you will go, the faster you will contribute to change. Hopefully, the faster you will reach a better world. And we all try to achieve one thing is reducing social inequality, improving the environment. These are really, I would say, the basic minimum we all should look for.
So that's a positive note to end on. Ending prejudice, ending preconceived notions. Baroness Ariane de Rothschild, thank you very much for your time this afternoon.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
That was the McKay Interview with Michael McKay. And don't forget, you can hear that interview again on our website, worldradio.ch.